If you're having a hard time setting boundaries at work, whether it's with communication, separating work from home, especially in the pandemic situation where work life and home life are essentially squished into one, or you're having a hard time setting boundaries with your availability, you're getting called into work on weekends, you're working overtime constantly, you're taking work home, you're noticing that even while you're at home, when you're off the clock, you're still getting sucked into things that are happening at work, maybe because you're in groups where people are working different hours than your scheduled hours. So if people are texting in groups, you're still getting all of those notifications, and it's burning you out because you're constantly in that work mode throughout the day. If this is you, this video is for you. Welcome to another episode on the Growth Leadership Cafe. My name is Adesoa, and if this is your first time coming across my YouTube channel, you're very welcome. It means that you're in search for tips and tricks on how to build your capacity as a leader. This channel, I talk about all things personal and organizational leadership for those who are going into management or some form of supervisory role and you're trying to navigate these waters. So I essentially help new leaders become phenomenal leaders, even if you're only just beginning. Okay, so welcome, sit back, relax, and enjoy. For my avid subscribers, thank you so much. If you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, it's a good time to do so you get a notification every time I post a video, which is every week Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time. So, as I was saying, the topic for today is essentially setting healthy boundaries at work. And what does that look like? The first point I want to highlight is your availability and your schedule. So what is your clock in and clock out time? So maybe you work a 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock schedule, and you're noticing that you're still getting called into work 5:30, 6 o'clock, especially if you're in those work environments where people work different schedules, your team works a variety of schedules that are different from you. And so you're noticing that people who are working those hours are still calling you to say, hey, this happened, what should we do? And you're feeling like you're just constantly in work mode. This is what I would say when it comes to that. First of all, if you have a set schedule, then you want to make sure that your team knows that, whether it's a daily or weekly schedule that gets sent out. And so it's more so about communicating what the boundaries are with that. So when you're letting your team know, feel free to call me anytime you have a question, this is something I want you to add to that sentence. I'm usually available between 9 o'clock and 5 p.m. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow, or we can address it tomorrow, okay? So that way you're really emphasizing that you're available for consultation or questions or whatever during your work hours between 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock. The second point I want to highlight is with emails. So with emails, especially now in a pandemic situation, we're working from home, you probably use your laptop for your own personal activities, and you're getting those constant pop-up notifications coming up, and you're just reading these emails and you're like, oh my God, I need to respond to that, and you just have a hard time not responding. So this is what I would recommend in this situation. First of all, take it off your phone, because that's one easy way to constantly get absorbed into whatever is going on at work, even when you're not on the clock. Okay, your mental health is important, so please make sure you're being very mindful of just allowing all of that constantly evade your personal space. Okay, so if you have the ability to limit your work emails to just maybe if you have a work laptop, or if you're still able to go into the office, just have it designated on your work computer and you're not putting it on your cell phone, you're not having it set up on your cell phone, so every time you're just getting those notifications as they come in. Okay, so I would say that would be the first step, is to limit it to work related devices. So if you have a tablet, have it set up there, and you can turn off pop-up notifications on these devices, so that even when you are still using those devices, if you have to, if those are your personal devices, then you know that you're not getting that pop-up reminder, which is like a physical reminder, oh, you just got an email, and so we get that natural inclination to want to click on it. Okay, so limit work stuff to work related devices if possible, and if you're still going into work, keep it on your work computer, because yeah, that's how we get sucked in. All right. The third point is working overtime. Now, this is somewhat related to the first point, which is your availability, right? I understand there are situations where, there's something really urgent that you need to get it done before you close for the day. That's understandable. But when it becomes a habit, that's a problem. Okay, so make sure that if you have your regular schedule, try and get as much as you can during that time. If it's not possible, push it over to the next day. Okay, so reduce the amount of time, because each organization has their own procedures, right? Some people, you can bank your time and take that time back if you work overtime. Some people, you get paid that time back if you work overtime. So whatever the situation is for you, obviously if you want to make extra cash here and there by working overtime, and that's allowed in your work environment, by all means. But if you're feeling like that is now beginning to take up so much space in your personal life, and other aspects of your life are beginning to suffer as a result of you getting constantly sucked into doing work overtime, then that is the red flag right there. Okay, so even if you're given something that is, you have a bunch of tasks and you're trying to figure out which should I do first and all of that, make sure that you're communicating with your team and making sure that you're getting as much help. If there's things that don't absolutely need you to do it, then delegate it to somebody else. Or if you're feeling like, the task is super urgent, then by all means do it. But again, make sure that it doesn't become a pattern. The fourth thing I want to talk about is your communication media. Essentially, what ways do you communicate with your team? So is it by cell phone? Is it by email? Is it text message? Is it on things like group chats like Microsoft Teams or WhatsApp groups? Whatever that is for you. Personally, especially in the pandemic situation, I've just learned to separate work-related stuff from my personal stuff. Usually I would have joined work-related WhatsApp groups, but I'm noticing that, because I also use that platform to communicate with my family and friends, it became very, what's the word I would use? I felt like I was constantly in work mode as a result of that. So that meant that even when I was off the clock, because I'm in these groups, I'm getting these pop-up notifications. Either when I'm chatting with my friends, I see the notification here and there, I'm seeing the chats going on, and depending on whatever situation is going on, I'm like, oh my God, I need to respond to this. But even when I haven't been personally contacted to say, hey, I just saw, what should we do about this, right? But because I'm seeing it constantly, I'm feeling that inclination to want to do it, to respond. So now I limit it to just Microsoft Teams. If we have Zoom meetings, great. We can communicate by email. You can call me on the phone if needed. You can text me direct message. But in terms of group chats, it's like, no. That is something that I don't want to do. So on this subject, I would highly recommend that if you can find a way to separate those media from your personal media from work media, do that. If you have Microsoft Teams, you can join that, as opposed to maybe whatever other platform that you use in communicating with your friends and family. So with that said, even with Microsoft Teams on my cell phone, I turn off the notification, because again, even when I'm not working and people are communicating on Microsoft Teams, I'm still getting those pop-up notifications or a light notification. So I turn all of that off, so that when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock, right? I'm not seeing that and constantly getting, feeling that pressure to act on it. In relation to all of this, if you're noticing that people are crossing those boundaries and you're getting called after work constantly, if it's a one-off situation, that's fine. But I would say if you're noticing that it becomes a pattern, check it early. So let that person know, hey, I know that you really wanted information, but in the future, I would really appreciate, if this is not urgent, that we keep it to the following day, and just explain to them, okay? So it doesn't have to be confrontational. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you need just to call me during this time. Yet it doesn't really have to be that. It's just reinforcing that boundary that you're establishing or trying to make a habit for your team. Because as much as you've said something once, it doesn't mean that it sticks. Or, you know, people just have that natural inclination to want to, oh, this came up, let me tell her this, or this came up, let me tell John, or whatever your name is, right? So sometimes it comes from a good place, like, right, they want to keep you informed, they want to keep you updated again, but you want to set that boundary and set it early. If you're catching that, you know, people are crossing those boundaries, just, you know, let them know right away that, you know, I noticed this came up last time and it came up this other time. Please, I really appreciate that. And the other thing I would say on this matter is whatever boundaries that you're setting for yourself, make sure that it's mutual. So as much as you don't want your team to call you during the day or call you after your work hours, or your boss is telling you to come into work at certain times that you really not want to come in when it's not your regular schedule, make sure that you're not expecting that of people on your team as well. So you're not calling your team when they're off the clock, you're not sending emails to them and expecting them to respond. So even if you send emails, it's important that you let them know, this is just my style, you know, feel free to respond when you get into the office, that sort of thing. So make sure that it's mutual and you're not doing the things that you don't want others to do to you, okay? Because that's unfair, and, you know, that just doesn't sit right with people and will rub people the wrong way, okay? So that's really all I have to say on this matter. If you found this helpful, I would say give this video a like. Let me know that you appreciate the content that is coming out of this channel. If you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so right now so you get a notification every time I post a video. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to connect with me on any of my social media platforms. You can find that out in the description box below. And I will see you next time. Bye for now.